Earlier this year, I delivered a list of 5 fantastic non-album singles that I think are absolutely some of the artist's best work, or if they're not some of the best work of the artists that they've released, they are just really great tracks. The premise is simple. If it didn't make it onto an album or even an EP, then it makes it onto this list. And also, they have to be bloody good. They have to be great, or they don't make it on this list. It seems to line up as well that the sign of a truly great artist is one that can deliver a one-off Lucy single every now and then, because when I was writing down all the artists and all the songs that could make it onto this list, because there's plenty of videos that could come from this series, by the way, they're all artists that have just consistently put out fantastic music across their career. So perhaps it's like a confidence thing, like they know how good their music is, their worth is, so they're just like, you know what, here you go guys, here's another song, here's a random song for you. They just have that confidence in them to know what they should release and what they shouldn't release. And yeah, this list will truly show you that as well. These artists are all fantastic and have had great careers. And yeah, the premise is simple. If it didn't make it onto an album or an EP, it's worth being included on this list. It is allowed to be on this list. It also has to be great. It has to be a great song, so you know, that's also part of it too. So yeah, stick around for this video and watch my previous video. This is the second one I've done on this now, and make sure you're, you know, tell me what yours are in the comments, checking out my Patreon, because you can request lists like this or other kinds of lists in the future as well at just a small amount, and it supports the channel too. So please check that out. And yeah, let's go.
Y'all cop kush, my nigga, I cop houses and fill them with some Leo to capture some cold sprouts.
I love a really well worked in sample, and Tyler, the Creator, has just been a legend when it comes to really well used samples across his career. You've got the really great one on I Ain't Got Time from Flower Boy. You've got great ones across all of his albums, and every time he pairs together with A$AP Rocky, it is literal brilliance. It's just fireworks. It's just a match made in heaven every time these guys come together. Even on the deluxe edition of Estate Sale, which I know some people said was a bit disappointing for them two to come together, I still think that track is actually pretty good. And even for their own standards, you know, being pretty good is actually, you know, nothing to be ashamed of, because they're usually amazing when they come together. And this track for me is just great. They're so slick, they're so cool, they're just having a fun time on this track. Honestly, it reminds me in a similar way of, you know, the Hillbillies, Baby Keem and Kendrick Lamar just coming together, not really saying anything that you really need to be hearing, but they just sound like they're just having fun together, and they just want to come together, just having a good time, and it really comes through on the track. The Knock Knock sample, as I've already mentioned, is great. Really cleverly used sample this. I think it's a really beautiful instrumental to be looped over and over again, and they're just both so understated, they're both so chill, they're both so laid back. It's just the most carefree rap song you'll probably hear, and yet it still kills. Like, it still is both, you know, from both of them, they still both sound great. So that's got to be mentioned for me. I think this is a great track, and one day I do wonder if we'll get like a full project from these two, because I think they'd kill it. When talking about 10-minute tracks, you've got to mention My Rajneesh by Sufjan Stevens. Honestly, on some days, this is up there with one of his best songs to me. When I just listen and lay back and let it sink into me, it really blows me away. The use of electronics, the use of the beautiful instrumentation being paired together, the combination of the electronics and that just sounds so good. Sufjan's voice, of course, is as glorious as ever, and the way it kind of builds is fantastic. This is just a really splendid song from Sufjan, and always found it funny that the year this came out was a pretty weak album from Sufjan. You know, it wasn't a particularly interesting one, The Ascension, but this track somehow just came from sort of like a B-side thing and ended up being better than anything else on there. And to be a 10-minute song and to be that good is really pretty impressive. So yeah, I've always loved this Slipping into one of the classics now though. I didn't go this far back when I did the first video, but I was thinking actually no, we got to bring some classics in, because some of these 60s bands were dropping singles all over the damn place. And Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones, who I do not talk about very much on this channel, but I do like the Rolling Stones, by the way, is just excellent. One of the best rock songs for me ever. I just think it's so good. The vocals have such a great demeanor about them. There's just such a crunch to the guitars. The chorus comes in. It almost feels, given the lyrical you know, concept of the track, it almost feels like emo before emo. Like they were pretty much ahead of their time with this idea of making everything black. I think it's pretty clever, but it's such a fantastic song, amazing guitar riff, amazing performances all around. It's iconic as hell. I don't really feel like I need to speak on this any more than I already am. But yeah, it was a mind-blowing thing to me when I found out that this didn't officially make it onto any album. It was only on the US version, I think, that this was actually implemented into the track list. But I think on the UK version, it didn't make it onto an album. It was just a single. So that's pretty cool. Found that quite surprising and mind-boggling, that a song this iconic was just a single. Going to the complete opposite end of the spectrum right here. I mean, it's kind of funny pairing these two songs together, because someone who is just so rooted in rock music would be like, yeah, the Rolling Stones, real music. And then hearing this one immediately after would be like, this is the problem with music nowadays. But I'll tell you right now, both are as excellent as one another, and Old English is one of the coolest collaborations of the 2010s, because Young Thug, A$AP Ferg and Freddie Gibbs all on a track. I mean, the fact that I barely see anyone talk about this anymore is insane to me, but I do hope it gets some random renaissance at some point, because I think we will do some really deserving revisionism of this track at some point. I mean, I already know it's great, but I think collectively hip hop heads will do at some point, because it's just so good. I mean, A$AP Ferg on this track might have the best verse, and honestly, these days, he's like the most forgettable artist out of the entire three, because all of his music just ended up becoming really mediocre. But listen to the way he's yelping on this track. It's kind of like a Danny Brown sort of thing going on, honestly. He sounds crazy, but he is great. The sort of like refrain that kind of gets brought back in occasionally is really good too, super catchy. And yeah, I just think this track just is an absolute quirky banger in the strangest way, but is so good. It is really good. Seriously, one of the better rap tracks, rap collaborations of the past 10 years to me. And closing things out now with Jamie XX, who has the audacity to keep delivering these excellent one-off tracks and not giving us a friggin' album, man. Why does he keep doing this? Why? But seriously, Jamie XX is a fantastic modern electronic artist. He really knows how to deliver a really cool like vocal snippet, just kind of being chopped into his instrumentals. It's so cool, and on this track particularly, it's great. But there's such a kind of ferocity with this track. It just kind of feels like it's pummeling you in all kinds of different directions. It's great. It's really snappy. It's really hard hitting. One of his hardest bangers, honestly. And yeah, assumedly, it probably won't make it onto an album. I'm just guessing that it won't, because he does these every now and then, and the fact that the last time we got something in full from him was so long ago, that I'm just going to hedge my bets here and just say, look, this is going to end up being a non-album single, but it's bloody good. So yeah, that is my list of 5, ending on probably the most hardest, attention-grabbing track of them all. So there you go, 5 picks from me there. Once again, an incredibly diverse list of songs that really don't sound like one another. Even the 2 hip-hop tracks I mentioned on here are pretty far apart in how they sound. Yeah, hopefully you've got some recommendations here if you've never heard any of these tracks, and hopefully if you've have heard them all, you're nodding in agreement and going, yes, I agree. So thank you for watching. Please check these tracks out if you haven't already. Please tell me your picks in the comments. I could make this a part 3 because there's that many that I've written down now. There's so many non-album singles out there that are great. And if you're thinking, where is this song? Well, it might be in the first video too. So click that one, it'll be in the description, and subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, share it around. Have a good day. Goodbye.